11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think the winner won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
And thanks to those joining me live and those that be joining me on the archive. And let me fix this really quick, actually. There we go. I don't know what the fuck that. And I knew as soon as that went live, dude, check the mic. Right? I knew that immediately. It is what it is. I hate the laptop noise. I did it live with Christine. The audio was horrible when I went back to listen to it. With that said, guys, a lot of things to talk about. Drinking my mineral water here. Make sure you guys get yourself a nice drink. I shouldn't be here that long, but you know, while you enjoy the show, you might be out there in Vegas listening, right? Already trying to get that kind of final take feel. This is the final take feel. We're very feel, in the words of Usyk. And what we're very feel for is final takes. And that's what this is about, right? I didn't quite get to do the type of fight week, quote unquote, coverage. Although I'm not in the business of coverage. I'm in the business of takes. I'm in the business of opinions. I'm in the business of having conversations with other fight fans about the sport that we live. Jay Will, it is finally fight week. Final take feels, whether you're at home right now, listening, on the move, on your mobile phone, if you're watching your laptop. I mean, who watches shit on laptops nowadays? I don't really know, but hey, you may be one of them. According to my analytics, about 11% of people watch on their TV. So shout out to you, the 11 percenters that watch D-Style Boxing on their TV. This is great, right? And if you're watching right now, or your family's sitting there, how y'all doing, right? More than likely, it's the husband in the family that is watching D-Style Boxing. More than likely, right? If it's the wife watching, don't get mad at me, bro. All right, it is what it is. JC, how's it going? All right. So, in all seriousness, here's the thing, man. I'm feeling it. Like for a while, like I don't know, man. I'm just not feeling it. Maybe because I'm busy, and like I said, I haven't had the time to really, like, for the lack of a better term, cover this event. It wasn't because I didn't want to. It wasn't because me and Calix by a miracle sneaked in a Monday show. It just happened we could, find a time in that window was time to do it. But so don't get it twisted. All these he doesn't give a shit about the event. That's why no, it's not really that. You know what I mean? It's just life. Things happen, right? But I wanted to come on here and just found this little window in time to firstly give you, because I have final thought feels, right? and to also let everybody know, I am excited about this fight. I am looking forward to watching this fight. And the way I'm feeling about this fight right now, I haven't felt this way about a Canelo fight in years. And I knew it was going to be that way. I knew they were going to have a weigh-in and all my primos were going to show up and pack the house. I knew people were going to travel from all sides of the country to pack the place up for a weigh-in. Right? Like I knew the energy was going to be there. A couple of things I want to talk about before I get to the fight. So you tell me, I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm trying to understand this. I really am. If you have any sort of media credential or access, and we have this fight in front of us where over $100 million easy is being spent, millions on advertisements, millions on organizing the thing, the money that's being spent on the undercard fights. There's going to be a big bonus for the undercard fighters. These two fighters have done miles and miles of road work. These two fighters have done round after round after round, just rounds, dozens and dozens of rounds of sparring, jumping rope, rounds and rounds and dozens of rounds, and hitting pads, hitting punching bags, speed bags, putting in all that work, all that effort, including the undercard fighters, including these two guys who are multimillionaires and are still going to give us a show. And the organizers of the show put on together this massive press conference. Compared to your PVC press conferences where the podium is falling apart, the old glue mark is seen from old, well, like old logos that were ripped off of there. Mics don't work. We have puppet promoters acting like they're promoters of events. Never do we see these tough questions ever. But you have all that. You have an opportunity to ask a question to Crawford, to Canelo, about the event. You have an opportunity to ask two living legends, future first ballot, no questions asked, Hall of Famers. Crawford and Canelo they're eligible. Let me look for them on the paper first and then mark it before I mark anybody else Hall of Famers. That's the level of Hall of Famers they're going to be. If Canelo's eligible, they're still taking it out of the envelope. Where's Canelo at? Saul Alvarez. Boom. You know what I mean? They're not the let me review every name. Let me put my top names over here and break it down to who are my top 5 and who's my 1, who's my 2, who's my 3. I don't know who's 1. And I'm going to look for him first. Okay, it's Canelo, done. All right, let's do the rest. Let's sing with Crawford. Right, like that. That's the level of fighter you have in front of you. Look at this massive event because of these two fighters, right? And Zettel doesn't have a question for them? Why the fuck are you at the press conference? Oh, he wants to ask about the Aliyah. Yeah, that's a real question. And he threw in the First Amendment, baby, quote unquote. And that really inspired people. That has nothing to do with the First Amendment. What is it? Yeah, it means freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Well, I'm exercising my freedom of speech. That was a stupid question. And I know people that already don't like the fact that the Saudis are involved. Like, I'm not that thrilled about it either, but it is what it is. I just did a rundown for you of what they put together, though. The fact that TKO is involved and Dana White is involved is bothering people. So let's grandstand, right? Oh, I'm going to ask about the Ali Act. And I know he's not going to like it. And I have that nice line. If this is America, baby, freedom of speech. What are we doing? What? That's like, I don't know. Let me just put it this way. You were told, hey, well, let's do an interview, whatever, right? But you have any questions for these two? Because that's what the press conference is about. That's why you're there, right? That's the whole purpose of it. That's the whole idea behind it. But for whatever reason, Zattel didn't have a question for Canelo or Crawford. Even though that's why you're giving the mic. And you don't have a question for them? You have nothing to ask? The only bullets in the chamber you had were about the Ali Act? On the Ali Act that you don't give a fuck about. When Al Heyman was running amok, the advisor who clearly plays a dual role as manager and promoter. It's whatever to me. All right. It's and Zattel says things. And look, I've covered this extensively, and I don't want to go too deep into it right now. Don't want to get to the fight, but he brings up like, oh, this is the third highest gate in history, and we've had the last 5 top gates for the last 10 years, and that was with the Ali Act, and you want to change it. And to me, what's being missed here is those gates being like that has nothing to do with the Ali Act. Nothing. The Ali Act is not a causation for those high gate numbers. Absolutely nothing. How exactly did the Ali Act play a role in a fighter making his pro debut as a boxer, fighting a 49-0 Floyd Mayweather, right? What did the Ali Act have to do with that? Conor McGregor became popular in the UFC where they have no Ali Act. And what are we doing? And that event being massive had nothing to do with the Ali Act. Nothing. At all. Like, it had nothing to do with it. Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, right, who are 2 all-time great fighters fighting each other, right, and making a massive event, has nothing to do with the Ali Act. Nothing. But to point arrogantly at 5 events, most of which are, one of them was a mixed fight with a boxer and an MMA fighter, right? And The other ones were with Floyd Mayweather, who's retired now. Bringing that up as if that shows how healthy the sport is. I mean, dude, are you blind? I know the hair is covering your face and your eyes, but are you blind? Is it hell not paying attention? Aren't you? Why isn't the Ali Act helping us get in the way on TV so we can watch them on the Zone or ESPN or some shit like that? Why did the Ali Act do something about Top Rank having a TV deal? Nobody has a fucking TV deal, bro. You don't have options. No, we're doing so great. Look, I'm going to throw out 5 random gate numbers to show that. Why do you want to change things? What are you doing so hot? What are you talking about? We're not doing that hot. PBC is doing an event once every blue moon. We're not doing that hot. But anyway, I digress. All right. I'll move on. I'm going to proceed. And Billy Richard, Lester Martinez. This fight, man. You know, I'm just going to go by, like, here's a rule of mine. Always make your pick weeks away, like months away. Like, always make your pick. As soon as the fight is announced, think about it. Like, do your due diligence and pick your pick. The reason for that is because the closer a fight gets, the more you start overthinking things. You start thinking about all scenarios. Because look, it's boxing. A lot of things can happen, right? Like right now, I'll be honest with you, it feels like a 50-50 fight. It feels like a fight that could go either way. It feels like Lester Martinez could pull it off. It feels like and Billy could pull it off. I feel they're both monsters. They're both strong. Um, they're both very strong individuals. They're both limited, in my opinion, in terms of boxing IQ. It's I wouldn't classify them as very intelligent. I'm not saying they're dumb, by the way. I'm just saying that like I don't see them as master boxers or some shit like that. Like in the main event, for example. But they're competent boxers, but I wouldn't say, oh yeah, at the top of the list is ring IQ. I think they're both like very straightforward. They both hit very hard. They both have, fight changing power, and they both have the ability to spark somebody out. And because of that's a feeling I get. But I'm gonna go with Eric from a couple of weeks ago, who had him Billy winning, right? And I knew this was gonna happen. I said, the closer we get to the fight, I'm gonna start getting those feels. So I'm just gonna stay within Billy. And Billy for the win. I think Billy gets a mid round stoppage. Keep in mind though, these are two massive punchers. I've always known like you can't count Lester out. You really can never count a puncher out. Plus, and Billy isn't exactly like, he's not exactly I haven't seen enough to say he's made of like granite. You know what I mean? And here he might show he's made of granite in this fight, but you can't really bank on that. So, but I'm leaning. I'm like 70% sure, and Billy pulls this one off. I'm gonna ignore the feeling now. I'm gonna go by how I felt about it weeks ago. I got him Billy winning this fight. I think he pulls it off. I think Lester looked really good in his last fight. He's in a really good camp. I get it, but I'm gonna roll with who I'm gonna roll with. That's what I got. All right. I'm gonna go with Billy. All right. So I'm going with. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Apologies, had to get that quick. So anyway, so in Billy, mid-round stoppage. I don't think that fight goes a distance. We'll see, but I don't think it's going to go distance. Don't miss that fight. I think it's going to be fireworks. Look, I'm just going to tell you that right now. It might even be the fight of the night. Like it's going to be good. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a multiple knockdown, type of fight. You know what I mean? Like it's just like Baranchik versus Zepeda type of fight. I wouldn't be shocked if it was like that. It's going to be a bone crushing brawl. It's going to be something. It's these are two action fighters. It's going to be fun. All right. What else we got? Oh, Callum Walsh against Fernando Vargas. By the way, Baranchik should beat Brian Adams. I think Baranchik will knock him out. Probably late. I don't think that fight's that hard to call, in my opinion. And Brian Adams might be a little difficult at first, but I do think Boachuk should get to him. But we'll see. You know what I mean? Brian Adams has found a way to go the distance before, but I think in this fight, we'll see. I think I got Boachuk in that fight. But Callum Walsh versus Fernando Vargas Jr. I think this is a tough fight. Like, I know, like, I don't even know the odds. If somebody wants to tell me the odds, I don't know what the odds are, right? But I'm just not, like, I'm not convinced with Walsh. But we haven't seen enough of Fernando Vargas Jr. So that's what's making this fight very difficult to call, right? I want to pick Fernando Vargas Jr. I want him to win. I really do. I hope he wins. But I think it's going to be a fairly competitive fight. I think it's going the distance. I think it'll be a good fight. I don't think it's going to be as great as Lester Martinez versus Billy, but I think it'll be a good fight. And I think Walsh wins a close but clear decision. I don't think it'll be controversial. Close but clear, unanimous decision. That's what I think Walsh will win, more or less, right? Now, but I hope Junior pulls it off. If Junior has, bro, if he's got 50% of what his pops had, he'll win this fight. I'm going to tell you that right now. Right? And people aren't really paying attention to Junior because they're so focused on Emiliano. Emiliano's a really good fighter, but all the focus is on him. Some feel Emiliano's the best one of the three, but Fernando Vargas Jr., we don't know yet what his ceiling is, so we're going to see. And I'm going to roll with Walsh as my prediction, but we're going to see. So, man, I don't know, since he's locked in, like he's locked like the eyes. You know what I mean? Like maybe he is. I don't know. We'll see. Should be locked in. All right. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see, can he drag Walsh into this firefight, into a type of fight, and kind of like a back alley brawl that and he's gonna have the. I don't know how many people. That's still the problem with boxing. Like usually they don't pack the arena. You know what I mean? But if there's enough people in there and he feels Raza backing him up and late in that fight, that could make that difference, right? And we'll see though. But I'm rooting for Junior. We'll see. But that's it. He's not a bum. Like they said, he's a bum. Like what's going on? All right. He's a bum. Like come on. Like you know what I mean? What's going on? But Guys, you guys know my prediction, by the way. I'll give you my prediction. Talk about the fight. I got Canelo winning this fight 8 rounds to 4. And that's been like my prediction for months. Like that's been like my consistent, and I'm not going to change it. Like that's an 8-4-ish type decision. Like I don't, you know, I don't think he's going to knock Bud out, but it is possible, right? There are questions I have that many others have, like how is Bud going to react to the punches? Bud may react very negatively to this weight. Bud may react very negatively to the punches, even worse than I think he's going to react to it, and that can result in a worse result for Bud than I'm anticipating, right? But that's what we don't know. That's an X factor. You know what I mean? That's just something. I'm not basing my prediction on power, on size that much. That's just a factor that may or may not affect Bud. And I'm predicting this fight as if Bud is going to handle the power well and he's going to handle the weight well. That's how I'm predicting this fight with that presupposition. Like, let's assume Bud, everything they're saying is right. Oh, the weight's not going to be a factor. He'll handle the power. He'll adjust to it. He'll put on some of that armor. He'll be good. So let's just, which is not we don't know. But so I am thinking with the assumption that he's going to completely handle that just fine, which is already a leap of faith in my part. But I'm going with that kind of assumption. And I see, like, I just don't see Canelo starting this fight the way people think he's going to start this fight, because Canelo never starts fight that way. Like, people are saying Canelo should do things that Canelo never does, right? Okay, just go straight at him, just pressure for the start, just like it's like Canelo never fights that way. That's not how he fights. So what? It's like people saying, "Oh, Bud is the defensive wizard." What are we talking about? Like, it's not what he does, right? I think this fight, both guys will meet each other in the center of the ring. And I think what's going to surprise people, and I think it's going to be very surprising, at some point in the early going, and I know people are going to disagree with this and say, "Oh, he shouldn't do it," but I disagree completely. I think he should do it. Canelo's going to get on his back foot. Like Canelo came in a little light. He looks a little lean. Keep in mind it's just a couple of pounds, and he's going to rehydrate a little bit. But he's gonna, and Canelo does this a lot. He does it specifically to fighters that are movers or that intend to move. Right? Didn't quite do it with Billy. Right? But Billy was just a different key. And Billy didn't come to fight. Right? And Billy wasn't trying to win that fight. I think Canelo is going to box on his back foot for moments at a time and force Bud to come to him a little bit. Is what I think is going to happen in the early going. And what's going to happen is what happens a lot with guys that are trying to win and are movers, right? They're going to start circling the middle of the ring. And then once it starts circling the middle of the ring, pay attention. I'm sure they'll have a logo in the middle of the ring, because it's, or they don't, just pay attention to their feet in the middle of the ring. Just like in the Golovkin 2 fight, Canelo will be commanding the center of the ring, and he'll be the aggressor, all right? And he's going to be the one pressuring, but it's not going to look like it. It's going to look like they're both circling the ring. But you're gonna, if you notice, just pay attention to this. One of Canelo's legs or feet, I should say, is always going to be in the center of the ring, while Bud is circling around. It's almost like an optical illusion when you don't pay attention to the feet. It looks like both guys are circling, right? I remember like looking at the Golovkin Canelo 2 fight early on, right? The same thing with Billy Joe and Canelo, and it looks like Canelo got him in a dance and they're both circling the ring. But in reality, Canelo is the aggressor. Canelo is the one controlling the center of the ring. And I think that's the first thing he needs to accomplish in this fight. Right? Get it to where Bud is at range. And if he wants to circle, he can circle, but you're going to command the center of that ring. But it's not going to appear like that's what you're doing, right? So that's number one. Second, and this is necessary, the jab needs to come back. He needs to utilize the jab against Terence Crawford. He needs to utilize the jab to set up the hook, right? To feint jabs, and so Bud could respect your jab, so he can feel the stick in front of him. So it forces Bud to take more steps laterally to try to, slip inside. It'll have him exert more energy. Also, because there's no doubt in my mind, Bud's going to be using his jab, and that is a very important punch. You need to have something firing back in return. Canelo hasn't used his jab very frequently in many of his last previous fights. A lot of it is because these are bigger men, right? He's the one finding himself slipping inside, and he's finding it easier to just go with leads or lead with hooks. And because these guys are slower, they may be bigger and stronger, but they're slower, right? So más torpes, right? So he could find openings without really utilizing his jab. However, the one worry I do have is that Canelo has really not utilized the jab for that long, and will be waiting too much with the high guard. I think he needs to be more active with the jab. The feints with the jab as well are very important for they can complement his feints with his backhand, and put to so Crawford get the full repertoire, right? And I do believe that the jab is going to come back in this fight. The jab is at a straight line, and Bud's susceptible to jabs, right? Like point blank. Like any risk you have in throwing the jab, there's a greater risk without throwing a jab. So if you say, well, because if you throw the jab, Crawford could counter up top, Crawford could duck low, whatever it is you say, right? Like, well, he's going to have an easier time countering up top and slipping inside, in my opinion, if you don't throw the jab. All right? It's the way I see it, in my personal opinion. All right? So, I think, not saying it's impossible for him to win without his jab, but that's like saying, oh, yeah, I could play this game of chess without my queen. Like, why? Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't make any sense. I think strategically it did make sense with some of the bigger guys. Believe it or not, when someone's a lot taller than you and a lot bigger than you, like sometimes the jab isn't really a useful tool. But in this case, I think he needs to use a jab. Like I think it will be too. I mean, the level of arrogance to not use it, or whether it's arrogance or bad habit at this point, we will see. But I do believe that they prepared for that. Like, there's no way. I don't think they didn't prepare to not use a jab, right? Doesn't mean you have to use it all the time. Doesn't mean you have to start with it right away, right? You could keep it in the holster. You might keep it in the holster for a round or two and then kind of put it out. But at the end of the day, Um, know when to use it and use him a lot more than you have lately. With that said, I think the hook is a very overlooked punch in this fight. Canelo's hook, right? Everyone's talking about the right hand of Canelo. Look, the right hand's going to land, but I think it's going to be complemented with a hook. Canelo has a very crafty, underrated lead hand, right? Like very underrated, very good lead uppercut. He's knocked guys down with it. But most importantly, his hook, right? Especially when complemented with a jab, is very underrated. Go look at the Khan fight very early in the fight. Khan very slippery, very quick like a cat. Like he's hard to catch early on, right? But Canelo was able to time where Khan was moving and leap over and land hooks to the direction that Khan was going and reroute him, right? And keep him distracted with the hook. It's like here, like he was like almost like dangling in front of him, smacking him with it, and then that's what started setting up the body work, and that's what slowed down Khan. Eventually, the right hand came, and it was all she wrote. And this is, I think, a punch that people are overlooking. I saw the Mean Machine fight. Mean Machine was countering Bud with hooks. He wasn't really landing lead hooks on Bud. But it's very hard to catch with lead hooks, which is why the jab is important, right? I don't think Canelo should be trying lead hooks on Bud, at least not early, and not often. But he was getting with counters. And I believe Canelo has much faster hands than Mean Machine. And much better timing than Mean Machine. I think it's a lot harder than Mean Machine. I do think Canelo's going to catch Bud with counters with the left. I do. I think I don't think he's going to get him with the. I think it'll be a mistake to throw with the lead. If they're throwaways, kind of just throwing them out there, that's one thing. As long as Canelo knows they're throwaways. But I think it's going to come to the counters. When Bud throws that 1-2, right, and he's leaning over with the backhand, when you lean over, especially if you miss, right? And Canelo's, by the way, really good at rolling the shots and then doing a counter. But I don't know if Bud throws a jab and Canelo tries to counter him with the hook, Bud's he's gonna see that. He's gonna see it coming, right? And he's gonna move out of the way. But when Bud leans over, when it's physics. When you lean over, right, you got to exert some energy to kind of spring yourself back. So when he's leaning over, that's when the hook's gonna come in, right? And if Canelo can mix it up, body, head, and Bud doesn't really know where it's coming, right? And Bud has a long torso that Canelo can work through, right? That's where the hook of Canelo's going to come through, in my opinion. When Bud's leaning over, when he's throwing punches and bunches, and he's going to have to throw punches and bunches. He's going to have to. And he's going to have to get, well, I'll get to Bud in a little bit, but that's because I'm going to get to that in a little bit. The other thing with the right hand, again, he needs to complement it with a jab. Canelo's not going to catch Bud Crawford with just a lead right hand. Like I'm just going to throw a right hand. Like it's just not going to happen, right? Again, not saying he can't do throws with it, but he's going to have to utilize his jab as well. It's not even about who gets the best of who with the jab. It's just so you can create your openings, right? That's what it's going to be about at the end of the day, right? And I think on the inside, I think Bud is going to try to hold Canelo, right? Try to show get some respect and some physicality. Obviously, put on some armor. You know what I mean? He'd have to cut that much weight. He could focus more on putting on muscle, and at the end of the day, like I just don't think it's going to work because Canelo has like that same thing Cotto had, like that. Like one of the reasons Cotto had success with Mayweather couldn't like grapple him. He couldn't hold him the way he was doing to other guys, right? By the way, Canelo's probably going to lift Crawford, by the way, in this fight. Crawford's going to try to grab him. He's going to lift him up. It's probably going to happen, right? I'm just going to throw that out there, right? But you've seen Cotto do that with Mayweather. You've seen what I mean? Like it's kind of like a mess. You kind of throw a message out there, like, bro, I could swing you off my body if I wanted to. Like, you know what I mean? But Canelo keeps that high guard. You know what I mean? It's just a little light, just a little. You throw a body shot at Canelo, just like, it's just a little bit. It's just a little bit of a waste. It's just he's kind of, you know what I mean? Like he's got the guard up here. You throw a body shot. Like, you know what I mean? Just a quick. He just blocks those body shots so beautifully. He just keeps compact. And the reason I'm saying that, Canelo doesn't have those bad habits where he has the elbow sticking out. What you know what I mean? Like west and east. Like, you know what I mean? That's not Canelo. Like it's. I remember when Freddie Roach started training Cotto. No, not Freddie Roach. I'm sorry, Emmanuel Stewart started training Miguel Cotto, and they said, Cotto's been a world champion, great fighter, but bad habit of keeping his elbows too far apart with a high guard, right? And he did. And that made Cotto susceptible to uppercuts. Margarito was lighting him up with uppercuts, but Canelo very compact. And it complements the guard, by the way, with head movement and catch and shoot. And there's other things that come with it, right? And even when the guard falls apart, he's able to, utilize his waist movement and head movement. And that's something I think is being overlooked. What's being overlooked is Canelo's defense. It's people are just talking about Canelo like he's just this come forward Margarito type dude. Like, oh, look at Spence. Spence really just relied on having a strong guard. And Spence had a really strong guard. But if you could thread the needle, which Bud could do, right, then you fall apart, right? It's of course a high guard has its weaknesses, but it has its weaknesses if you don't complement it with something else, right? And that comes with having educated footwork, head movement, upper body waist movement, which Canelo has, right? And he stays compact. Back to the point about being compact. How is Bud going to grab Canelo? I want you to notice something when he tries to grab Canelo. He's going to have nowhere to grab. They have gloves on, right? And when he tries to grab him, just really good, he's going to tuck those elbows, stick them out, right? And Bud's not going to be able to hold him. And when you do this, right, with the elbows, right, the opponent trying to grab you goes like this, right? Notice your arms. One's like this, right? The other guy's like this. Body shots, baby. Trying to hold Canelo is going to lead to you getting hit to the body. Because if Canelo does it right, and I've seen him do this, right? Miguel Cotto would do this very well as well, right? Because they're very compact, and this is where having shorter arms and a more compact body has an advantage, right? When you extend the elbows out to prevent the guy from holding you, and they're like this, right? You are in a position, right? You're already pulling up. You already cranked it, right? You already loaded the punch, and then bam, you could throw it to the body, right? And not to get my Teddy Atlas thing out there, but I do think that's where Canelo's going to land good body shots on Bud in those close quarters. And I don't think Bud's ever fought anybody who's a great body puncher like Canelo, right? So those are some aspects that I think people are overlooking, quite frankly. I get that Bud is a strong guy and all that, but I just think he's lankier. Usually, like when it comes to like bench pressing, right? Guys with shorter arms tend to bench press more than guys with longer arms, right? Because it's less limb, to kind of, just think about like tools and how tools work. You know what I mean? It's like having those long arms, it's too much limb there. Canelo is going to be able to push Bud off because it's kind of the same thing, like pushing off, and he's going to be able to push Bud off, and stay on the inside to not smother his work. I just don't think the tactic of holding and that's really going to work that well, right? So he's not dealing with a stationary guy, like unless Canelo's completely shot, which I don't think he is, right? He's not dealing with a stationary target like Spence was. Spence a very stationary target, especially compared to Canelo, right? So we'll leave that at that. Let's talk about Bud, in fairness. All right. Bud has to use his jab. Period. Like period. Like he's got to use his jab. And I think he will. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to utilize his jab. Same thing. He may keep it in the holster for a little bit, keep Canelo guessing when he's going to use it. Maybe he won't start with it and maybe kind of take it out of the holster at some point when Canelo's like, holy shit, I got to deal with this too. So that's something to look out for. With Bud, I'm certain he's going to use his jab. Positive. He has to. Right? He's longer, keep Canelo at bay. And he's going to have to stay away from Canelo. He can't stay in the pocket, in my opinion. It's my opinion. There's going to have to be a lot of lateral movement. He's going to have a lot of lateral movement, a lot of, in and out. And he's going to have to look for a decision. Look, I'm sure he has respectable power even for this way. Not like I know could just put his hands down and just walk towards him. You know what I mean? But so Crawford has enough pop to keep someone honest. I think he'll have enough pop to keep Canelo honest. And if he puts it together, win a decision, that's possible. Right? Very high ring IQ, Bud Crawford. I don't think holding tactics are going to work against Canelo. I just don't. Right? But we'll see. I mean, we'll see if he can pull it off. I don't think boxing on the inside is going to really work with him. He may want to stand his ground here and there, but I just don't think he should stay there that long in the pocket. The problem Bud's going to face here, and I saw an interview of Bivol, and Bivol said, you know what? Canela, he calls him Canela. Motherfucker calls Canelo Canela. Yeah, Canela. Canela. I guess when you beat the guy, you call him whatever you want. You know what I mean? Although I understand it's the accent. Canela, good defensive fighter. I don't even think that sounds like Bivol, but whatever. And Canelo is a good defensive fighter. And the way Bivol put it was, I had to put multiple punches together to land that one. Right? Why does he have to put multiple punches together to land that one? Because he's got to first deal with the guard. And then he's got to deal with the head movement. Right? Like that. So like if Canelo blocks, move, like that could be 4 punches, and you can maybe get the 5th one in. Not to mention like the head movement and so yeah, like my only thing with Bud is he's gonna have to put punches together, but he's jumping up from a lower weight class, and I feel like he needs to sit on his punches. Right? He needs to sit on his punches to make them count if he's throwing them in combinations, because I don't think throwing them off his back foot, like if you want to be on your back foot and throw a quick combination so you could get the escape route, well, those punches off the back foot are not going to do anything to Canelo. You cannot, not that you won't get any power out of it, but it's. I feel like he needs to have front foot power in order to get Canelo's respect. Which means he needs to sit on his punches. He needs to lean on those shots to make them count. And not that he can't throw them fast, but it's going to exert more energy. And I feel like it's going to make him that split second slower. And I think he's already going to be a split second slower because he's put on armor and he's moving up. He's heavier. Right? So it's heavier. He's moving on up. This might be the first time Crawford's fighting with 10-ounce gloves instead of 8. I could be wrong about that, but I think I'm right about that. I don't know what he boxed with Madrimov, but I believe I could be wrong. But his whole career, the vast majority outside, I don't know about the Madrimov fight, but any other fight, he's fought with 8 ounce, and now they're 10 ounce, right? Slightly heavier gloves. That means your punch is going to be just that little 0.001 second slower, whatever it is. But like, and combinations become a little slower. You're like, it is what it is, right? We're every inch, every ounce and inch matters here, right? And I think that's going to be the issue. He's going to have to put punches together. He's got to lean in, and he's got to sit on the punches to make them count. And this is not the guy you want to do that with, in my opinion, because I think the hook counter is going to come, and the longer you're there, you're going to be open at some point to get hit, and Bud gets hit. So, as much as I respect Bud Crawford, as much as I think he's a great fighter, I just think, and this is again, and I mean this, like, it's not disrespect. I just think he bit off more than he could chew. I just think that's what it is. I just think it's too much to overcome. I just think it's too much to overcome. It's my opinion. But this is why they fight the fight. Now, this comment, I kind of agree that that's what he should do. In theory, this makes sense. Because of it, like, he can do what I just told you, because I think it's going to be open encounters. He can hold. I don't think he's going to be able to hold. We'll see. I ain't shit. Like, this fight go over the opposite of what I'm saying. Who fucking knows, right? But I'm just giving you guys my opinion. Theoretically, yes, but want to get out. I mean, I think that's his best bet. I've been telling people that's what he's going to do. He's going to try to box. Sweet science. He's going to move. It's what he's going to do. That's what I believe. And I believe that's his best and only pathway to victory, in my opinion. Not saying he can't do this and maybe a little more of the other stuff and like get his respect at some point. I think at some point he's going to have to get his respect. Even if he's out boxing Canelo and put on a clinic, he needs to get the respect at some point, right? But we will see. It should be interesting. I just don't think it's going to work because Bud that's not his style. But Bud is not a Floyd Mayweather. But Bud is not a Pernell Whitaker. Bud is not a stick and move for 12 rounds type of guy. The only fight I could think of where he really did that was against Postal. Postal was nowhere near the level of caliber of fighter. Bud was a lot lighter. Bud was more in his prime when he did that. This is years later. He hasn't done that in a while. He's a lot heavier now. And again, he's dealing with a Canelo Alvarez. So it's going to be interesting. But we will see. Now, there's a lot of talk about, hey, these guys have moved up and they beat dudes before. Like what are you talking about? Like Duran moved up, he beat Leonard, and look at Leonard moved up, he beat Don DeLon. Like, well, what do you mean he beat Leonard after retirement, moved up to middleweight, beat the greatest middleweight of all time in Hagler? What do you mean he can't? Look, first of all, I never said Bud can't do it. It's not possible. It's just that my prediction is that he's not going to do it. Right? I don't think he's going to do it. But it's not impossible. It's not like this impossible task. Right? If Crawford has a fight of his life, like he needs to have his performance of his life to win it, but is he capable of doing that? Sure. That's still not a guarantee he wins, but sure. And I've been saying that. Right? Let me talk a little bit of shit, but it's all good fun. You know what I mean? It's all good. Yes, guys have moved up in weight and they won, but usually in those cases, in the vast majority of cases when guys move up, right? There's several factors to consider, right? Well, factor number one, which applies to Crawford anyway, so it's not really a negative on Crawford, but usually guys that move up several weight classes, and Canelo's one of them, by the way, right? They're very, very talented fighters. Like, you know what I mean? They're pound for pound level fighters, generational greats that do that. The Pacquiaos, the De La Hoyas, the Floyd Mayweathers, the Crawford's one of them. Canelo's one of them. They move up several weight classes and they conquer, right? So that's number one. Like, let's not act like this is a normal thing. Oh yeah, when the little guy moves up, they always win. That's not true, right? Usually one or two, just three weight classes is just too much for most guys. For most, right? Outside of the special fighters, but Crawford falls under that, right? So okay, I get it, right? But I just want to eliminate the notion. Oh yeah, the little guy always wins. That's not true, right? Now, if they were more specific, usually in high-profile fights, when the little guy moves up, Roy Jones against John Ruiz, or Pacquiao against De La Hoya, or Mayweather against De La Hoya, or Mayweather against Cotto, or I don't know, whatever, right? Mayweather against Canelo, Canelo against Kovalev, Canelo against the entire 168-pound division, Duran against Leonard. Like we have enough evidence to show that this could happen. Like, okay, cool, I get it, I do. But here's the important thing to consider. In most, if not all of these cases, guys acclimated to the weight. Guys tested the waters first before they knew what the hell they got themselves into. And in most of these cases, well, yes, we have examples of guys that conquered moving up in weight class. Why don't we ever bring up when these guys crash and burn, when like a weight class becomes too much for them? Why don't we ever bring that up? Right? I love Roberto Duran, but after the first Leonard fight, he never beat any of the dudes of the Four Kings in those higher weight classes. Duran still pulled off like the Ivan Barkley win, but he also had other losses in those higher weight classes. He also got sparked out by Thomas Hearns. He put on a great valiant effort, a very competitive, very impressive still, but he still lost to Hadler. So impressive what Duran did, though, with Hadler. Can't take that away. All right. Manny Pacquiao at some point said, yeah, that's just, even at a catch weight, that's too high. Those punches were a little too much. I'm good. I'm not going to fight at that weight class anymore. Right? It just is what it is. Like it nobody talks about how the bodies of these guys eventually break down after moving up so many times. Right? And Bud's been moving up. So is this the one where Crawford conquered, or is this the one where he crashes and burns? Well, that's what you don't know. And that's with guys that like people talk about it. Like Duran was chilling at lightweight. He just decided one day, you know what? Let me just go to welterweight and fight Ray Leonard. No, there's some in-between fights there. When Mosley moved up to fight De La Hoya, he had some in-between fights there. He didn't just go up there and just do it, right? So in 99% of these cases, they acclimated to it, right? So now we go to the next level. I know, Batista. There's been guys that done it, and somebody just said it. Roy Jones did it at heavyweight. There's been guys that moved up all the way to heavyweight, like Roy Jones did it against John Ruiz, and other guys have done it too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I can't think of another example though. Like, I think Cal Brook versus Triple G, Mikey Garcia against Errol Spence. We're talking about the ones that did just jumped up and did it, right? Oh, Pacquiao against De La Hoya, I guess. But look at all those specifics, right? It didn't end that well for Cal Brook. I mean, you could argue it almost destroyed his career. That's a level of like mistake that this was. His orbital was fucked up, and he took so much damage in that fight against Triple G because he wanted to jump up 2 weight classes and fight Triple G. Took a beating, right? Mike Garcia went up in weight, and he got beat up by Errol Spence. Even though Mike got flirted like at 140 already, but still, right? Mike Garcia looked like he just said, I'll just collect my paycheck after a couple rounds. De La Hoya Pacquiao, yeah, like Pacquiao moved up. Well, Pacquiao fought David Diaz at 135, so technically it was 2 weight classes to 147. But De La Hoya hadn't fought in that weight class in like, I don't know how many years. It was like since the Gotti fight. 7, 8 years, whatever it was. He looked completely depleted at the weigh-in. It was a shell of himself. I mean, like Jesus Christ. So okay. And John Ruiz, I mean, John Ruiz ain't no Canelo. John Ruiz was the weak link champion. And that's it. That's what John Ruiz was. Still impressive that Roy Jones did. Don't get me wrong. Still very impressive that Roy did that. John Ruiz was still a top 5 heavyweight. Like it's not he wasn't some chump. But what I'm saying is that wasn't Lennox Lewis, and I wouldn't expect Roy to fight Lennox anyway, right? That's too big of a difference. But my point is, Roy, like that is the one example in the history of boxing you have that fits this one. But we have other disasters. Ringendow going up to fight Loma didn't work out so well. Like, you know what I mean? Like Ringendow ended up just saying whatever in his corner, bro. He said no mas. Diego Corrales tried to move up to Walsh, but boom, got sparked out. But like he just got knocked out. Oh, he's tall. He's got the frame. Boom, he got sparked out. So I get that Crawford, to many, well, Crawford's different. A lot of those, he's not an ordinary fighter. And I agree, he's not an ordinary fighter. He's extraordinary. But I think he's fighting another extraordinary fighter. In most of these cases, guys are moving up. The question really was, the only question was, is the size enough to overcome? And while that's still a question here, there's just more to that. I just think it's not just about the size being a factor. I also think Canelo's not only the biggest fighter Crawford's ever fought, he's the best fighter he's ever fought. So you could put that one in the bank. Guys, I got to get going. Canelo 8-4. I gave you my thoughts for what it's worth. And shout out to Bruce Goss. How's it going, brother? 92AKU. EV. Colaspo. Who I think hits harder? Canelo. I think Canelo hits harder. That's what I think. They're all the same type of punch, though. Like, like Crawford has it's just, it's a little different. I think Canelo's more thudding, right? More thudding power. But it's like Canelo's like a bulldozer in you. The Canelo, but Bud has like that sledgehammer, kind of like a sledgehammer being swung at you. You know what I mean? But either way, they both knock me out. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. You know what I mean? I love it when people are like, well, I've never been hit by them. Like, I mean, they would both knock us out. So I don't even know how you're going to measure that. But that's that. All right. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. This is D-Style. I'm out. Peace.